Chapter 376. Everything is about to end. Whether it was Issei, Gasper, or the others, they had a chill and realized they were about to be K*led. Ergerkat. Issei wasn't sure where this power came from, but as he wished to protect everyone, he used his power to protect everything from this catastrophe as expected. As it was so sudden and had so much might, the numbers that he could protect were limited. Still, those who weren't protected by Issei were all instantly K*led, and there was no resistance. If there was something that they were glad for, they were glad that their death was painless. Nevertheless, Riser was surprised by how strong Issei had become. Was this the power of the god of another world? He could tell that Issei's body exuded a strange divinity, which made him appear different from others. It was like this guy was a god, but it was also because of this that he felt the world was really such a bastard. It was so easy to K*ll Issei before, but when Issei suddenly returned, his power dramatically increased. Riser could tell that Issei was as strong as the Great Red, or even slightly stronger. Yet, when he thought about how a god from another world could contact Issei without being noticed, he knew that he needed to take those creatures from another world seriously. Nevertheless, while Riser was thinking about the creatures from another world, Issei was enraged. Riser. There was no trace of respect, and what was left was only hatred since, at this moment, he could see how evil Riser was. Due to the Riser attack, there was no trace of anything. The majority of the living beings that lived on this territory burned into nothingness directly, and those who could stay alive were those who stayed behind him. At this moment, everyone was filled with both fear and hatred, especially those from the devil. Why did you do this to us? Why do you have TOK*LLUS? Is this how the alliance will be? All the nobles cried and shouted furiously toward the de facto leader of the alliance, Lucifer Riser. Even if Riser was frightened, how could they control their emotions when they saw many of their loved ones were K*led? If they weren't lucky with their meeting position to be behind Issei, then they knew that they would be on the same fate as those who were K*led. So there was no way for them to control their emotions. Yet, while the vampires were enraged, like Issei, Surzek, Ajuka, Azazel, and others, they had a complicated mood as they didn't expect Riser to grow into such a monster. George, we need to run away. Nevertheless, Gasper knew from the future that they needed to run away. It wasn't that he didn't think that Issei wasn't Riser's opponent. As long as Issei worked harder, the defeat of Riser was just in front of their eyes, yet Issei didn't even have time to train. Riser didn't even give them time to breathe, and he directly attacked them. As of the moment, all of them, except for the vampires, wondered whether Riser had been waiting for Issei to return from death. All this time, Riser just let them go, waiting patiently, and when all of them were inside the net, he took all of them down. They were unable to talk, and their lips were trembling, thinking about what they should do, but they also agreed with the decision of Gasper from the future to run away. Wait, he can teleport anyone to his side. Azazel quickly remembered something, but as expected, it was too late. Whether it was George or Valerie, the two of them were already in Riser's hands. George. Valerie. Yet, no matter how hard they screamed or tried to help those two, everything was too late. Riser took out the Longinus within the two and threw them away, K*ling them. George aside, probably others might feel that it was a shame for Valerie, but this woman was so vicious, wishing to K*ll him with the army of the death. Was there even a point to keep her then? Riser. Gasper from the future was furious, and he lost his mind directly, but before he did anything, his body was cut in half. Fortunately, he was able to return to the past and stay alive once again, but once again, he was cut, but he stayed alive once again by using the power of time. Riser felt that Gasper was troublesome, so he thought he would take out the sacred gear of Gasper in the future, but then, if he couldn't K*ll Gasper, then he might as well torment him. Still, Azazel saw this plan. Hurry up and stop him. Attack him. He knew that their situation was at its worst, but as long as Issei could do something, they would be able to save this world. Ergergi. As Gasper's body was burnt by the eternal fire, the others started to attack Riser. The hero faction, especially Leonardo, the owner of the Annihilation Maker, is a high-tier Longinus with the ability to create any creature that the possessor can imagine. He directly sacrificed himself and turned himself into a 1,000-tall monster made of light to destroy Riser. Surzek and Ajuka also used their everything to stop Riser, but suddenly, their bodies stopped. Damn it. As expected, huh? As Riser had taken Sephiroth Grawl out of Valerie's body, Riser had taken control over their bodies, and it was also due to this that the two of them attacked Leonardo, who had become a monster. Facing all of them, there was no trace of mercy on him, especially when he had decided to K*LL all of them. Hurry up and attack him. K*LL him. Otherwise, we will be K*led. Yet, after saying those words, Azazel died. With the power of Sephiroth Graal, Riser controlled them, and along with the power of Mirror Lion, his control over this Longinus was stronger. At this moment, no one could stop him, and it was just a time before he was about to die. Still, watching how many of those who still had the will to fight, Riser wondered whether the aura of the protagonist was as strong as ever, but it didn't matter. Suddenly, the world lost its color, and black lightning flashed all over his body, bringing a powerful impact to all the present. Those who couldn't endure it directly died, or rather, all of them died. Riser ignored Issei and focused on Gasper from the future, yet how could Issei allow all of this? Erhard Gah. I won't forgive you. Riser. Divine Dragon. His armor's shape and the armor's color changed from pure crimson to a mix of crimson and white. Additionally, this form gained a total of 4 wings, each one containing a cannon. 2 of the cannons are over his shoulders, and the other 2 are under his arms. This was the power he newly gained from Shikigami. Divine Dragon. Heavenly Blaster. The 4 cannons on his wings aimed at Riser before Issei shot out a powerful Holy Aura Blast, intending to K*LL Riser. Yet, Riser didn't dodge, and he just raised Gasper, which he grasped in his hand on this blast. Wah! Issei wanted to stop this attack, but it was too late. The world, the space, and everything shook. Due to this attack, the firm space cracked like a broken mirror before it was destroyed, returning them to reality. Yet, while Issei was wallowing in regret due to his rash actions, Drake quickly reminded him. Partner. Wah! Under the destruction, Riser stood in midair calmly, completely unscathed. Chapter 377, DDD. How? Issei and Drake were screaming in horror. They knew how powerful their attacks were, yet why was Riser completely unscathed? Or rather, why did Riser become stronger? This was completely unreasonable. If Riser knew what they were thinking, he would say that they had the same existence, too, as they had become as strong as him after a moment of reincarnation. Yet, even if Issei was as strong as him, it didn't mean that Issei could defeat him. Instead, as Issei grew stronger, he also grew stronger. However, more importantly, his abilities were much better than Issei's. Issei's ability came from Drake and a god from another world, Shikigami. Drake's ability was as simple as it was only a flame and a physical enhancement. Meanwhile, Shikigami's abilities were all perverted abilities. Those abilities weren't bad, but facing Riser, they were meaningless. Riser had so many abilities that he might rarely use some of them, and all of them were powerful. With the ruler, all the attacks he received would be reversed and turned into healing and fortification. With Agni, he could amplify something near infinitely. With Full Country, he was able to reflect on all the attacks he received, double its original. With Sunshine, he could become stronger under the sun. With Saturnal, he could create a nuclear fusion reaction in his body, creating an almost unlimited amount of energy. Lastly, Riser also devoured the Great Red and made him able to inherit all the abilities owned by this dragon. So whatever the attacks that Issei sent him, all of them were meaningless. Instead, the more he fought, the stronger he was. In the beginning, Riser only had a slight advantage, but the more they fought, the more advantage he had. Why? Issei was scared silly as he faced Riser since all of his attacks were meaningless. Instead, he was the one that was being pushed. His body was full of injuries, he was bleeding all over, and he started to lose this confrontation. Even worse, he started to feel that death was coming. At this moment, he was filled with fear, wondering whether he was going to die once again. If so, then what was going to happen? If that was happening, could he reincarnate? When his thought was drawn into the abyss, Drake's voice woke him up. Partner, use my ability. Your ability? Penetrate. Drake said strongly. This is one of my ultimate abilities. Like Albion, who had venom, a poison that was capable of erasing every being, Drake, as the heavenly dragon, also had a unique ability. Naturally, he had 2 abilities. One was penetration, and the other was ultimate fire, but there was no doubt that the ultimate fire was meaningless to be used against Riser, but penetration was different. This was his strongest ability, an ability that was capable of penetrating anything. With those words, Issei didn't hesitate and used this ability. Even though he had never used this ability as a protagonist, it was natural that he was able to master every ability like he was breathing, so all the defenses on Riser's body were directly penetrated. We did it. 2x. Issei and Drake felt happy, but what they didn't expect was that Riser's body would become a light, and Riser would suddenly appear on top of Issei and then smash his head. Boom. Issei felt like his skull was cracked, and his face was melting as he was smashed by a powerful force that caused an earthquake in the entire Eastern Europe. As the space that was created by Riser using Duelist, Dimensional Lost, and Innovate Clear was destroyed by Issei, it was impossible for his fight not to cause damage to the surroundings. But if there was someone that was blamed, it could only be Issei, right? Yet, Riser couldn't help but frown as he didn't expect that his space could be destroyed as the Great Red was unable to do so in the past. Naturally, their fight attracted the attention of many, and the Greeks and those from the church who were closer naturally came to see what was happening before they were dumbfounded by the aura exuded by Riser. Due to Riser's aura, no one dared to get close, and all of them could only bow their heads in fear. Some of them even directly died as their souls were unable to endure the pressure from Riser's aura. Yet, those things didn't matter for Riser as it was their fault for coming. Get away from here, or you will die. Still, Riser reminded them, as he didn't want many to die, after all, but if they didn't listen, then that was it. Nevertheless, this fight was going to end. Even if Issei had gained Shikigami's power, Issei wasn't his opponent. Riser is ready to give a finishing blow, but suddenly, a powerful force envelopes Issei and forces him to back away. His eyes became stern when he saw this pillar of light before he turned his gaze and saw Gasper from the future. This guy. Riser didn't expect this guy to be like a cockroach that was so hard to K*LL. He had taken out the sacred gear from this guy's body, but somehow Gasper was able to come back once again. Was it because Gasper had been using his sacred gear for so long that the ability of the sacred gear had become innate? If so, then how do you K*LL Gasper? Gasper couldn't die as he could return to the past as long as he wished to, returning from death. Yet, if Gasper thought that he could do whatever he wished to, he was wrong. Riser directly invaded Gasper's mind by using the ability he gained from the Great Red before he devoured him. If he couldn't K*LL Gasper, then he might as well devour him and take all of Gasper's abilities since he had to say Gasper's ability was nice. Still, as expected, when he took Gasper's ability, something happened to Issei. Issei, who was about to die at that moment, felt like his body was being invaded by something. You. Who are you? In his mind, Issei saw someone like himself, but he seemed much older and even had a goatee. It was like he was looking at his future self. I am you from the future. Yo, you are me from the future? Issei and Drake were dumbfounded when they saw Issei from the future. Why are you here? What do you want to do with my body? Calm down. I am here to help you. Help me? Yes, I will help you to defeat Riser, and after I clear him up, you will be able to get everything. So will you entrust everything to me? In other words, Issei from the future was going to take over his body. If it was someone else, Issei might hesitate, but this was him from the future, and he could even see himself from the future to show such an expression. Only he knows himself the best. So Issei's answer was obvious. Please defeat him for me. Issei knew that he couldn't do anything against Riser. Even if he had become powerful, his cowardly heart couldn't be erased so soon. So at this moment, he decided to entrust everything to Issei from the future. You don't need to worry. I will defeat him. At that moment, another transformation happened on Issei. The black color suddenly mixed with the crimson and white dragon armor worn by Issei. DDD. Divine Diabolos Dragon. Once again, Issei became even stronger. Riser. Chapter 378. Your final is near. As Riser gets stronger by devouring Gasper from the future, Issei also becomes stronger due to his combination with his future self. Yet, Riser had to say that this world was quite unfair. While he needed to do something tedious and even life-threatening, this guy became stronger due to a chance. Moreover, what was this? I won't forgive you, Riser. Issei, who had combined with his future, rose once again and started his attack. DDD. Diabolus Divine Dragon. This was his most powerful form. The combination of current Issei, who had the body of a god, and his future self, who had the boy of the dragon and the devil, created a powerful combination. Moreover, along with the experience and bravery that came with his future self, he had become so dangerous that he could even destroy this world. What is even more dangerous is his anger, which fueled his power and also made him even stronger. Nevertheless, facing this anger, Riser was confused. Why did he do it? Did he do something wrong? Why did Issei suddenly come to him from the future and say that he wouldn't forgive him? As for the original Issei, did this idiot forget that he was trying to take his former fiancée? Was Riser wrong to fight for his rights? In the beginning, no matter how ugly they were, Rias was his fiancée. Did Issei think that he could take Rias without angering him? How unreasonable. Nevertheless, Riser didn't underestimate Issei since he knew that Issei had combined even stronger, so strong that Issei's existence was so bright. At that moment, Issei was like the brightest light in the abyss. He was an existence that led everyone during their darkest moment. But Riser? He had become evil, the one that plunged this world into misery. Nevertheless, it didn't matter since he had gotten used to the role of villain. Even though he knew that he wasn't a villain and he just wanted to live well, he was portrayed as evil in this world. Yet, it didn't matter since being evil gave him everything, and he didn't lack anyone who believed in him. So, even if Issei appeared in front of everyone, it was hard for one's heart to be swayed by Issei's existence except for those who had a bad relationship with Riser. As for those who had a great relationship with Riser, all of them were solemn, wondering how to help Riser. Yet, Riser didn't need their help. Even though Issei might have become stronger by combining the power of the Red Dragon Emperor, Shikigami, Ophis, and the Great Red from another world, he didn't fear this guy. Taking out the true Longinus, Riser moved with the speed of light, charging with the intention to KLL Issei in one go. Facing Riser's vicious attack, Issei was startled by the future, but it was too late. At that moment, Riser's brightness wasn't even lost to Issei. His existence was bathed in the holiness that shouldn't appear on a devil, yet it appeared on him. Issei might have combined himself with Shikigami, a god from another world, but Riser had devoured the god of the Bible. The strongest Longinus, true Longinus, held the soul of the god of the Bible, and he directly devoured it after he had gotten the holy affinity from Irina previously. O spear! The true holy spear which pierces through God. Suck the ambition of the king of domination sleeping within me and pierce through the gap of blessing and destruction. You. Announce the will and turn it into a glow. True idea. At that moment, Issei felt death was near, but due to sheer coincidence, he was able to dodge it like a bug. The time seemed to stop and rewind, and his action to dodge somehow couldn't be done, erased before his body was stabbed by this holy spear. Riser used the power of Desperado, erasing all the coincidences, fate, and many others, leaving only a result where Issei was dying at his hands. Issei widened his eyes, and he was in disbelief. How? If it was a normal villain, they would be proud of his action and would arrogantly tell why the hero had lost. Yet there was no such thing on Riser. Riser was going to KLL Issei. No one could stop him. Nevertheless, the world didn't want Issei to die, and somehow a circle-like portal appeared and then sucked Issei, so Issei wouldn't die along with summoning a powerful creature from another world. When this creature appeared, Riser ignored the presence that made everyone tremble with fear and led it directly. Yet, this single moment gave Issei a chance to escape, and somehow, everyone also appeared as if they were called into this place. Dear, darling, Lucifer-sama. Everyone was looking at Riser with concern before they were all dumbfounded, looking at Issei, who had somehow appeared once again. Nevertheless, watching everyone there, Issei's expression became gentle, and then he shouted, Riser, I will come back. I will save this world. I will save this world from you. You evil. Your tyranny will definitely end. For Surzek-sama, Ajuka-sama, Azazel-sensei, and everyone. I will avenge them. His shout was so loud as if he was afraid that no one would hear him. Yet, Riser was as calm as ever and had just thrown the true Longinus, who had escaped from another world, into Issei. Issei was startled, and others also quickly tried to close the portal while trying to erase the connection of the true Longinus with Riser. However, it was impossible. As the portal closed, the true Longinus kept chasing Issei, but Riser knew that it was impossible to KLL Issei with it, so he might as well destroy it. In another world, the true Longinus was detonated by Riser. Yet, even so, Riser knew that it was impossible to KLL Issei with that. However, he knew that it should be enough to KLL many of the beings in another world. Still, the words that were shouted by Issei carried a magic-like effect, similar to brainwashing that would believe his words, which made many think that Riser had done something evil, yet under Riser's aura, those thoughts disappeared. Even if Riser was evil, so what? They were comfortable under his role, and all of them loved him. Moreover, even if they knew Riser was evil, was it even a problem? After all, they weren't his opponent, and he could K*LL them anytime. As for Issei, this guy who had run away, was there even a need for them to think about him? Still, those who were still unconvinced by Riser had a seed of doubt, and they waited for Issei to return to this world to bring the world into the righteous. Nevertheless, even if Riser knew that he was still as calm as ever and called everyone, he knew the end of his war would be soon. Chapter 379. Our next battle is against another world and parallel world. After the battle, Riser brought everyone to the meeting, whether it was the mouse, the great king, an angel, a fallen angel, gods, and many others who were all called for this meeting. Nevertheless, it was all clear what Riser was going to say to them, especially when Riser's battle was seen by everyone. Still, even so, they had to say, Riser was strong, so strong that they were unable to breathe or even look him in the eyes, so he was in silence. No one said anything, and they just lowered their heads, waiting for him to talk. Still, while they couldn't talk, Seraphal could say, Dear, what's happening? There is nothing much, but I will fight with creatures from another world and someone from a parallel world. All of them were stunned still and couldn't even say anything. They were tongue-tied, wishing to say something, but they couldn't since it wasn't the first time for Riser to be this decisive. It was like when he suddenly announced a war with Chinese and Hindu myths. It was so sudden that they were flabbergasted. Then suddenly he announced that he was going to fight with creatures from another world and someone from the parallel world. Nevertheless, the existence of another world and a parallel world stunned all of them. I know that you might be confused, but like before, even if you don't want to follow me, then you don't need to come. Yes, Riser's power was so mighty that their help wasn't needed at all, which made them speechless. Frankly, his earlier battle had almost destroyed the eastern part of Europe. It was a disaster, and tens of millions of people died, but even so, it was just tens of millions, which was nothing compared to the billions of numbers of humanity. What are you talking about, Riser-sama? We will follow you. Yeah, we will fight along with you. Even if our opponents are from another world or the parallel world, it doesn't matter. We will win as long as we have you. Riser smiled but then said, Thank you, but you are a bit too weak. Everyone. Nevertheless, while I know that I don't need to explain, I will tell you what they are and why I fought Issei Hyudo. Riser knew that many wished to know, especially Rias and the others, since they didn't expect to see Issei. Nevertheless, they didn't believe Issei, especially when Issei was so strong. While they knew that they might be mocking Issei, the truth was like this. Issei wasn't Riser's opponent. The Red Dragon Emperor was just a heavenly dragon, after all. Even if it was strong, it was just an existence below the Great Red and Ophis. However, Riser was already above the Great Red and Ophis, so it was impossible for Issei to be his opponent. Yet, during that fight, Issei could be Riser's opponent. So how? So, Riser told them from the beginning about the existence of another world and also a parallel world. It wasn't that he needed to explain this matter to them, but he knew that his women wanted to know, and the others? They were just bonuses, as he was too lazy to explain. Still, he explained from the beginning how he knew Gasper from the future, the one who helped Cao Cao and the other hero faction, the K*Lur of Azazel, which made the fallen angels furious. But also sighed in relief is that member of the hero factions, especially Cao Cao, had been K*led. I waited and waited, and finally, I found out that they were waiting for Issei Hyudo. Why? This was what made them confused since they didn't understand why Gasper from the future, which Gasper from the current timeline trembled in fear as he was watched by everyone, waiting for Issei. Still, Riser's answer made them speechless. Another world. God from another world used Issei as a way to dominate this world. Yes, Riser directly told them that the creatures from another world used Issei to control their world. As for whether they would believe in him or not, there was no way for them to doubt him since he was already dominating this world. So what was the point of him lying to all of them? Still, the creatures of another world aside, what about the parallel world? Why had they attacked them? No, why did they come to attack Riser? What about the parallel world, dear? Sona asked curiously. If I have to say, probably, they are afraid. Afraid? Yes, they are afraid that I might invade, attack, and dominate them. Everyone. Would you do it, dear? If it were before, I might not think so since I don't even know the existence of a parallel world. But since they have come to attack me, then I might as well conquer them since they will give me nice resources. Hearing his words, everyone nodded. Riser was realistic, after all, and this is what they liked. Nevertheless, with this, whether it was the existence of another world or a parallel world, it didn't matter since all of them were going to be conquered by Riser. Moreover, wasn't it exciting to go to another world? But why say Hayadu? This was also a question that couldn't be understood by everyone. Rias and the others knew the answer since Riser had talked about this matter to all of them, so Riser only repeated what he told Rias and the others. Probably, in another world, he is the chosen one. You know, like the protagonist in the shounen manga. He's the savior and the one who saves all of us. It is something like that. They all fell in silence and couldn't imagine how the perverted Issei Hayadu could become the savior of everyone, especially when Riser was so strong. Anyway, whether it is another world or a parallel world, they are going to become my enemies. However, you don't need to worry about them since they are as good as dead as they come. However, Riser then looked at everyone and said, there might be many stupid ones who think that Issei Hayadu is the one savior and will try to fight me. So when that happens, you should be prepared. Hearing those words, everyone nodded. As for Issei's words that shouted to all of them that Riser was the real K*ler behind Surzek, Ajuka, Azazel, and the others, they didn't care since many weren't involved with Surzek, Ajuka, Azazel, and the others. Moreover, it was impossible for them to believe what Issei said one-sidedly. Even Grafia didn't believe that Riser had K*led her husband since it was clear the one that K*led Surzek was Vala, and the others were Chow Chow. With those words, the meeting ended, and Riser knew that he needed to clean up all the pests before they were going to become Issei's helpers to fight him when he returned. Still, before that, he was going to check his rewards since it definitely wouldn't hurt for him to become even stronger, right? Then, as expected, his rewards were rich. Chapter 380, I Love You. As the meeting ended, Riser decided to check the rewards he gained from defeating many famous enemies. Nevertheless, he knew that everything was about to end soon. As long as he was able to defeat Issei, the creatures from another world, the parallel world, and also those who thought that they were on the right side, he knew that everything would be over. Yet, he had to say that it was so hard. Unlike the protagonist, who had the help of everyone, fighting with the power of comrades, Riser used the power of an individual, fighting by himself. However, it didn't mean it was bad. Riser felt that it was better this way as he didn't want to involve his problems with anyone, and the feeling of putting your life and future in someone else's hands definitely wasn't anything unpleasant. Closing his eyes as he enjoyed the quietness of his yard, Riser thought that this was going to be the last. Then, with that thought, he checked his rewards. Congratulations, you have received Thugga, Lord of Flame God. Riser had to say that even though he only got one SK*LL, this SK*LL was amazing, and it was probably his reward after defeating all the members of the hero faction. Still, this was an evolved version of the Agni, Lord of Charity SK*LL he had previously. If someone forgot, his Agni ability gave him the ability to amplify something near infinitely. When used on a person, it can be used to either increase their strength to or past the limit of their bodies, resulting in living things being burned alive by their own body heat or otherwise falling apart. When used on an attack, the result is absolutely catastrophic, increasing its power to the absolute limit and creating the strongest offensive power. It was powerful, right? Yet the Thugga SK*LL was the enhanced version of that, which made it several times stronger. Not only was the ability to amplify anything almost infinitely, but this ability also included thought acceleration, scorch excitation, parallel existence, and space-time manipulation, dimensional leap, and multidimensional barrier. Now, let him explain what those abilities were used for. Thought acceleration allows the user to greatly increase the speed of their thought process. It was quite similar to the SK*LL which he had before, but it was stronger, he thought. Scorch excitation. It was the Agni ability, giving him the ability to amplify anything infinitely but with a different name. Parallel existence. It allows the user to split their consciousness and give flesh to independent alter egos of themselves, referred to as an other body. Riser had to say that this SK*LL gave him a surprise as it allowed him to create a copy of himself, which was a great SK*LL for him, to save his life as it would give him 2 lives. While he had never thought of using this SK*LL to do so, He was sure that someone might think of using this SK*LL for something perverted, but he wouldn't do that. Still, let's talk about the next SK*LL. Space-time manipulation. It allows the user to manipulate and utilize the elements of space and time, allowing them to perform space-time connection or even instant motion, depending on their proficiency. With this SK*LL, even if his opponents moved to a different place or dimension or even stopped the time, they wouldn't be able to stop him. Riser also tried to use this SK*LL and tried to go to another world to end Issei and creatures from another world, but it seemed he needed to master these abilities more before he could do that. Still, this way, no one would be able to escape, and he also understood why those from the future or parallel worlds wished to K*LL him somehow. Yet, it didn't matter, as he was the one who would K*LL them first. It was their fault for provoking him and wishing to K*LL him, after all, so don't blame him. Then, what about the next SK*LL? Dimensional Leap. It's a SK*LL that allows the user to freely locate and travel to a location, even if it is in different dimensions or worlds, as long as there's a guide or connection to it. Oh ho! Riser smiled and thought that it was the only time before he ended everything. Then, the last SK*LL. Multidimensional Barrier. It is a barrier-type SK*LL that achieves absolute defense through the utilization of an always-active multi-layer barrier with a variety of abilities. It boasts a foolproof defense against physical, elemental, and emission-type attacks. While there are attacks that could potentially break it, if the user is able to analyze the nature of the oncoming attack, they can adjust the barrier to block it. Perfect, he thought. With this SK*LL, no one could run away from him anymore. As he thought of that, someone gently massaged his temples. He opened his eyes and saw a beautiful crimson hair that was impossible to forget. Does it feel good? A little harder. Like this. Yeah, that's good. Rias smiled and said, if you need my help, just tell me. Comfort me tonight. I mean, if you want me to fight, I can do it too. Riser fell in silence and looked at Rias. Under his stare, Rias took a deep breath and said, I could tell that Issei was hesitating when he saw me. If you used me, then your chance to win would increase. Even if Issei was controlled by creatures from another world, Issei was still the same pervert as ever. She could tell that as long as she asked him to do something, Issei would follow her words, and it would give Riser a chance to end him. No. Why? Stretching his hand, Riser pulled Rias into his embrace and hugged her in his arms. I don't want to use you for something like that. Rias lay on his chest and said, but I want to help you. I don't want to become a vase. That feeling is enough. You are not strong enough. This Issei is different from the previous Issei. Can you defeat him? I can K*LL him if he doesn't run to another world. Those hateful creatures from another world. Rias gritted her teeth, then let out a helpless sigh as she put her hands on his chest. You know. I wish that. Such a past never happened between us. But it had happened, after all, and if we didn't do so, our relationship wouldn't become like this. Maybe, you were right, but there is always another possibility, right? There is a parallel world, after all. What kind of possibility do you want? I mean, when you were with me, our family is happy, Oni-sama is living, and many others. Though, I can imagine that you are still with many women even if you were with me. Rias wasn't confident about holding him alone, especially when she knew how strong he was, yet it didn't matter as she didn't mind him having a lot of lovers. Still, Riser was silent and didn't say anything. Riser. Looking at his profile and gentle smile, Rias also understood that if many things didn't happen between them, it was impossible for them to be like this. I love you. Riser. What's with that expression? Rias pouted since he didn't show much of a reaction. I didn't expect you to say that in this situation. So, what about you? Aren't you clear? I am not. Watching Rias act like a baby, Riser only smiled and kissed her forehead. I love you, Rias. Rias felt like her heart had almost exploded, and she hugged him tightly as she really couldn't control her emotions. Whatever had happened in the past, she knew she loved him so much that he would give her everything, so she knew that in their next battle, they had to win. Chapter 381. Set up the right thing. Still, by the end of the meeting, the existence of another world and the parallel world were quickly known by everyone. At that moment, they knew another danger was about to come to their home, and their battle was near, so all of them were prepared for that war to protect their homeland. Yet, while others wished to be protected, there were also those who were in doubt. One of them was those from the church, as they had seen the discussion that had happened in Eastern Europe. They felt like this battle was meaningless. Was a war necessary? Why should they KLL each other? Why did so many have to die? They also couldn't understand why the angels supported Riser in this war. Issei Hayadu. This was an existence that they couldn't forget. Unlike Riser, who appeared so evil, Issei was so bright, like the light that existed to guide them when they were blind. This was wrong. This was wrong. This was wrong. Their minds kept screaming as they refused to accept this war as they watched the catastrophe that appeared before them. We can't allow this wrongness anymore. We need to correct everything. There is no need for us to join this meaningless battle. A young man with a gentle and kind appearance looked at everyone and said, "Can you lend me your strength?" With those words, everyone was moved, and they knew this was the time for them to correct everything. At the same time, in the realm of death, Hades and many other evil gods gathered together. What do you guys think? What should we do? We need to fight. Yeah, those creatures from another world are going to invade us, after all. Hades was speechless, but he didn't deny that they needed to fight the creatures from another world. Still, watching their expressions, he knew that no one seemed to have any intention to fight Riser anymore. While he was speechless, he knew that the only one who could handle Issei Hayado was Riser Lucifer. Even though he hated Riser, it couldn't be denied that Hades knew that Riser was strong. After all, if Riser wasn't strong, could he humiliate him? Hades, how about you give up? Yeah, there is no need for us to fight anymore. I think the world under his ruler is great. For the evil gods, Riser's firm, realistic lead while also letting them do whatever they wished way of the ruler as long as they didn't bother him was a great thing. Moreover, he also had taken all the Longinus and sacred gears from those humans, which made them helpless and powerless against all of them. A human should be like this. It was also due to this that they hated the God of the Bible who gave the powers to fight against the gods to the humans. What Riser did was correct, and they also didn't mind following him. Moreover, he also wished to have a war against the parallel world and another world. It's such a fun thing. How could they let Riser do it alone? They also wished to be by Riser's side, following and fighting. Or rather, all of them felt itchy, waiting for those creatures from another world and parallel world to fight. As for Hades, if there was no friendship between them, they wouldn't come at all. Anyway, Riser didn't do anything to them, and they could just enjoy their lives without worry. Watching everyone, Hades was speechless and helpless, but there was nothing that he could do since their powers weren't weaker than him. If they were together, he would be even more helpless. Moreover, they were in the realm of death, his home, and if they fought, his home would be destroyed. Frankly, Hades didn't really hate Riser, either. If there was something that annoyed him by Riser, it was because he treated all the devils the same way as he hated a devil. However, in reality, he was weaker, and there was nothing he could do. He was like those who he had led in the past, completely helpless. Just give up. Nyx, the primordial goddess of the night, patted Hades' shoulder. I think it is better for us to follow him. If it was on the original, they wouldn't give up no matter what, as Issei was a human, and they didn't like him. However, Riser was a devil, a supernatural creature, and he was also a phoenix, which somehow related to their myth, so no one hated him. By the way, I want to meet him after this. Do any of you want to follow me? Nyx suddenly said. Huh? What are you planning to do? I have a surprise for him. Well, it doesn't matter. I also want to meet Riser-sama too. Ah, how dare you use his given name? Use Lucifer-sama, bastard. Oh, I am special. I am close to him. How unfair. Watching all the evil gods, who talked happily to meet Riser, Hades was speechless and helpless. Even if Riser didn't do anything, the Alliance of Hell, an organization that he created to fight Riser, ended just like that. Letting out a helpless sigh, he hoped Riser wouldn't give up, so it would be fun. Yet, as Hades had thought, Riser didn't give up. Even though he knew the creatures from a parallel world and another world was going to come, he still wanted to plunge this world into more chaos. So here he was, coming to the territory of Belial House. Unlike before, the Belial House was quite empty, and the popularity of the champion was no longer there. Dahauser was as good as a dog in the eyes of many, so even if Riser came, he didn't need to worry about anything as no one would find him. As expected, Riser found Dahauser, who was sitting on the top of the stone like an old person. He laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, it's funny to see the champion has fallen so low." Hearing this laugh, Dahauser turned his head in silence before widening his eyes. You are. Ha ha ha. You have guessed, right? I am the real descendant of the Lucifer. Dihauser Kuan, do you want to follow me to bring this world to the right? Dihauser was silent, but then he took a deep breath and stood up, following Riser obediently. Nevertheless, Riser, who was in his villa, was speechless when a group of evil gods came to him happily as if they were his fans. Wait, they were his fans. However, he wondered why he became popular among the evil gods, which made him wonder whether a villain was the only path that he could choose. Chapter 382. The Evil Gods Are Nice. Riser wondered how many evil gods wished to follow him. Yet, it was great that they didn't do anything strange and decided to follow him. Though, he had to say, he was surprised when he saw Hades was there. Hades stood in the corner, seemingly awkwardly, looking away. If Riser had to say, Hades was like a boy who had made his friend cry, then feeling regret before he was forced by the teacher to apologize. Hades, what are you doing? Come. Didn't you want to apologize? Hurry up. Hades felt so ashamed at this moment. His SK*LL-like face blushed somehow before he looked at Riser with an awkward expression and apologized. I am sorry for what I have done before, Riser Lucifer-sama. He probably also wasn't used to apologizing, so he wasn't sure what to say after this. Yet, this couldn't be blamed. He is Hades, the god of death. How could such a mighty being apologize to others? If someone made a mistake, they would be the 1K* led by him. Yet, Riser was different since Riser was much stronger than him, and Hades also didn't want to fight with him anymore as having a peaceful life and fighting the creatures from another world and parallel world was better. No, it's okay. It's great that we don't need to fight each other due to a small matter. Riser was speechless, but he decided to accept Hades' apology since he was amazed by Hades' willingness to apologize. Unlike others, who could only apologize unwillingly after being forced or just stayed outside, ignoring everything and pretending that they had never done anything wrong. Hades was a man for being able to take the initiative to meet him and apologize in front of his friends. Yeah, it's great. The beginning of their fight all started due to the 5 principal clans, the human, and for them, the human was just a small insignificant being. Why should they be troubled by it? Still, Hades also realized that Riser wasn't bad at all. Even though Riser was above all of them, Riser didn't pretend to be such a being and even treated them like a friend, which was great. Nevertheless, Riser realized when he lost something, he would also receive something. When those who followed the original would leave and even fight him, those who fought the original main character would all follow him. Even Hades, who at first tried to antagonize him, somehow mellowed up and told him everything about Riser. Riser? Yes. Hades felt a little awkward, but he said he used Cocytus as a place to hide. You let him hide in your place? What should Riser say at this moment? Well, it isn't really that big of a problem. In his mind, Riser was nothing but a tool. Riser thought that he could make a splash on the world, but what he didn't know was that everything was already in Riser's control. Still, if Issei could get stronger by being from another world, Riser wondered whether he could become even stronger by devouring the 666. Yes, Riser knew that Riser's purpose was to release the 666 to the world and use it to destroy the world. Yet, he let Riser do such a thing as he wished to get his hand on this beast, devouring it and making himself even stronger. Moreover, he could even use 666 to destroy those who fought him. Still, Riser thought of something and suddenly asked, by the way, do you know what Riser did on the Cocytus? No, I don't know. He is so secretive, after all. Hades didn't hide anything since he really didn't know anything. It might be his arrogance as he thought that it was impossible for Riser to escape from his palm, so he let Riser do whatever he wished to do. However, he felt regret as he let him do so since now he lost Riser's trace. It's okay, but I feel like he must be hiding something there. If that's the case, do you want to go to the Cocytus now? Is that okay? Why not? Riser realized how chill Hades was, and he wondered why they had even fought in the first place. Wait. Hades, you can't take Riser-sama away from us. Yeah, we talked to him first. It's unfair. Riser was speechless, and Hades was so angry at this group of evil gods, wishing to beat all of them up, but he knew that he was powerless against all of them, so he could only snort and look away. At this moment, Riser wondered whether all the gods were at Sundara. Still, compared to the good gods, he felt like he could trust the evil gods more somehow. Why? It was because the evil gods didn't hide that they were evil. They were different from the good gods, who judged everything as good and evil. The evil gods were chill as they only did a bad thing and didn't shy away from acknowledging that they were bad. However, it didn't mean that they would do something so lawless or cause chaos. Instead, what they did was necessary to create a balance in this world. By the way, Riser-sama, can you tell me more about another world? I can help you search for the path to go to another world. Can you? Yes, I am fairly good at teleportation magic, so I might be able to help crack the path that leads us to another world and parallel world. Erebus, the primordial god of darkness in Greek mythology, took the initiative to help Riser. Still, this was good news for him since Riser lacked someone who could help him research a path to go to another world, so Erebus's help was something that he was happy about. By then, Riser told Erebus about what he knew about another world. Though he had to say, he wasn't sure how those creatures from another world could come to them. If there was a reason why they could contact and even open a path to their world, it was because of Issei's perverted power, which was the main power of the original protagonist. Perverted power. Hearing this answer, no one knew how to react after it was so ridiculous, yet when they heard the existence of the god of Braits, Shikigami, they knew that Riser didn't lie. Even though it was ridiculous, it was another world, so anything could happen. I will do my best. This is what Erebus could say. Oh, right, Riser-sama, I have brought a gift for you. Riser looked at Nyx, the primordial goddess of the night and the younger sister of Erebus in Greek mythology. He had to say that this goddess was beautiful and had a cute face with long black hair and pointy ears. It was also due to this that he wondered what she would give him, but unexpectedly, she would give him a girl. Chapter 383. What do you think of this girl? The girl is beautiful. Her long hair is purple in color, and she appears to be in her late teens. Her eyes were closed, and she appeared to be sleeping. Watching this girl, Riser looked at Nyx and asked, "Does she have a sleeping disease?" "Yes." Nyx nodded. "For you, it should be easy to handle, right?" There was no doubt that the sleeping disease was the most troublesome disease in the underworld, as those who caught it would be unable to wake up and just sleep as if they were dead. However, due to Riser's feng shui ability, he was able to ease this disease momentarily. Frankly, Riser could heal this sleeping disease with his healing ability as he also had cured Miss Labale, Sarorg's mother, who was also his lover, but he kept this matter a secret. Instead, he created a medicine that could temporarily cure sleeping disease, so as long as one consumed it, they wouldn't fall asleep. If Riser had to say, he was like those pharmaceutical companies who made medicine for cancer or HIV. He might have created a perfect cure for those diseases, but he hid it and only showed the one that healed temporarily so they would continue to consume his medicines, generating more money for him. Was he evil? Riser had to say yes, but people often said that one would sell their souls to the devil for money, right? Well, Riser was a devil, though, so don't expect him to be a great guy. Still, it was also due to this achievement that Nyx thought that Riser could handle this girl well. However, Riser was confused. Who is this? Why did Nyx want to give this girl to him? What was so special about this girl? This is Ingvild Leviathan. Leviathan. The surname of this girl quickly caught his attention. Yes, she is the only descendant of the Leviathan now, Nyx reported happily while wondering whether she would be praised. However, Riser didn't praise Nyx since he didn't have much of an interest in the descendants of the original four Satans. If it was someone else, they would be happy and think that this was a chance for the devil to rise, but for him, it didn't matter whether the original four Satans existed or not since their existence was redundant to him. However, Nyx had given this girl to him, and he felt like it was good to have the descendant of the original four Satans by his side as it would help him politically. Thank you, Nyx. Did this goddess fall for him? Riser was speechless, feeling complicated by a primordial goddess for falling for him. Yet, he focused his attention on the sleeping devil before him. He could tell that she was half, and she was born from a devil and a human. Even though she was the descendant of the Leviathan, she wasn't pure blood, but it didn't matter as it was almost impossible to search for the descendants of the four original Satans. Still, he didn't take this girl first. He talked with the group of evil gods for a while before he could be with this girl alone. But before that, he called Serafal, Sona, and many others, as there was no doubt the existence of this girl would affect Serafal the most. So this girl is the descendant of the Leviathan? Serafal looked at the girl curiously. Yes. Who is her name? If I am not wrong, according to Nyx, her name is Ingvild Leviathan. So, her name is Ingvild Chan. Serafal nodded. Watching Serafal's reaction, Sona and Riser couldn't help but feel curious. Are you okay with this? Wanisama? Why not? Isn't it good for the descendant of the original Satan to be found? As the mother of the devil, Lilith, was no longer by their sides, it was impossible for pure blood to be born once again except by having S*X. Still, unlike humans who could get pregnant easily, it was hard for the devil to do so, and for one to get pregnant, it might take several decades or even a century to do so. The proof of that was the fact that even though Graphia and Surzek had been married for so long, their child was only born recently, right? With that proof, it was easy to see how hard it was for the devil to get pregnant. Nevertheless, they needed to discuss Ingvild, who appeared before them. If you don't have a problem, then I will wake her up now. Okay. Unlike Catastrophic Leviathan, whom Riser had met in the past, he could tell that Ingvild was the real deal. It was also why he could tell that she was strong and she should have the original ability of the Leviathan, Sea Serpent of the End, an ability which was similar to the Citri House but stronger. Moreover, as Ingvild was half-human, Riser knew that she also had a sacred gear, and this sacred gear wasn't weak. It even had a power that was close to or matched the Longinus, like Starbuster, Star Blaster, and Unknown Dictator, which he owned. Nevertheless, Riser wasn't that excited by this girl. Even though she was beautiful and was also the descendant of the original four Satans, she was just a normal girl. Suddenly, he thought about Kuroka's words, which made him think that he might only be interested in the wife or the women of others since the feeling of robbing was nice, which made him realize how degenerate he had become. Yet, this was also good news for Ingvild as she didn't have to worry that something happened when she stayed by his side. Nevertheless, while Serafal was okay, Riser wondered what his wife was thinking about Ingvild. What about you, Sona? It's okay, isn't it? Her existence can make your rulers stronger. While Sona didn't think that there was someone stupid enough to challenge him, when she thought about Diehauser, she knew that someone was just so stupid sometimes that they couldn't be saved anymore. As for the others, they didn't have many opinions since Ingvild didn't affect their lives much. The only one that was affected was Serafal, who was the current Leviathan and also the Citri House, but even so, with Riser, what could others do with them? Moreover, with the gentle nature of Serafal and Sona, they also couldn't bear to see this girl sleep all the time due to this sleeping disease. With that decision, Riser used his ability and woke Ingvild up. Her eyes trembled before she opened her eyes in confusion as everything was unfamiliar. Congratulations, the operation was successful. You have become a beautiful girl. Ingvild wasn't sure what to say. After all, wasn't she a beautiful girl? Nevertheless, she knew she had woken up from her sleeping disease. Chapter 384. Riser who don't want to have any regrets. How do you feel, Ingvild? Thank you, Riser-sama. I feel comfortable here. A week had passed since Ingvild woke up, and she had been staying at Riser's villa. Naturally, Riser had also told everyone about her existence to all the devils, but frankly, there weren't many reactions to knowing Ingvild's identity. If it was in the original, where the politics were divided into various factions, the reaction when one knew the existence of Ingvild would be huge, but in this world, there was only one voice in the underworld, and that was his voice. Nothing was happening. Moreover, even if they knew that Ingvild was the descendant of the original Leviathan, what did they want to do? Creating a new political party to attack Riser? If they dared to do so, there was no need for them to wait for Riser to move, as the others would definitely take their lives. At this moment, everyone worked their best, trying to get into his best side. Even if they had to devour others, they would definitely do it as it was hard to impress him, and K*ling other devils was much easier than going to another world or parallel world to fight his enemies. His announcements that the fight with the other world and the parallel world that wished to invade all of them had spread in every direction. Everyone was tense, and they were training hard so they could stay alive during this battle or just hide so they wouldn't be involved. The last type of people might be rare, but it didn't mean that it didn't exist. However, this type of people was much better than those who wished to fight the Alliance, thinking that they were wrong. Is that so? I am glad to hear that. Riser smiled and said, though, if you wish, you can walk around instead of staying in the villa all the time, you know? If it was Kuroka and the others, he might not have cared, but Ingvild was so pure that she didn't understand anything. Unlike Asia, who had been tainted by him, he didn't intend to do anything to this girl, so it was better for her to leave. As for the chance of her being kidnapped by the pro-old Satan faction or others, Riser only laughed. No, I feel this place is better, Riser-sama. The outside world is scary. Ingvild quickly declined Riser's words, then said, If you're worried that I might bother with your intimacy with your women, then you don't need to worry. I won't disrupt you, and she lowered her head shyly with a blush, then said, I can help you too. You know? Riser's lips twitched before he could only close his eyes, deciding to ignore this descendant of Leviathan. Like any other girl, she was also willing to open her legs for him. Yet, how could she not be? Who wouldn't have to have an intimate relationship with a being like Riser? Even if they didn't want to, could they reject him? Moreover, even if they had a partner, many were sure that whether it was their husbands, parents, or boyfriends, they would push them into Riser so they could get into his good side, as his hobby was obvious to all. This was also the reason why Kuroka didn't appear most of the time, as she was punished by him, considering she was the one who made such a mess. By the way, how's your training? Well, it's fine. I can control my sacred gear quite easily, too. Ingvild sighed regretfully, but she quickly answered him as their position didn't allow her to be disrespectful, yet she really wished for him to sleep with her as she could see how much his women loved to be held by him. It seemed so enjoyable, especially when they fell asleep. Their sleeping faces were so peaceful, and it seemed so nice. Probably because she had a sleeping disease that even though her disease was cured, she still loved to sleep. So, she wanted to feel how it felt to sleep after being held by him. Nevertheless, the real reason why she wished it was him was because she was the man who had woken her up, and his attitude toward her was sincere, unlike many others who approached her due to her origin as the original descendant of the Leviathan. In the original, her meeting with the original protagonist, Issei Hayadu, was relatively strange as he suddenly appeared in Kuo Town, as if she was there trying to seduce him. Still, the original development aside, it didn't matter, considering how she had met Riser, and she wished to be her strength. Her life had been a mess due to this sleeping disease, whether it was her parents, family, or many others. She had lost all of them due to sleeping for hundreds of years. Moreover, those who tried to cure her of this disease didn't do this wholeheartedly and deceived her family, using her as an object of research. In this world, only Riser was the one that she could trust, and that was why, to gain his attention, she wished to become stronger. While Riser was a bit speechless knowing her feelings, he didn't reject her and let her stay by his side, especially when he knew she had a unique sacred gear. Nereid Kyrie. This was her sacred gear. It had the ability to control the sea and the dragon, enslaving them. This was also why Riser knew that Ingvild's existence was important to him, especially when his enemy was partly a dragon. However, Riser also felt speechless at how Issei could have become so strong before. DDD. Diabolo's divine dragon, huh? When Riser thought about his last battle with Issei, he wanted to crack the whole world, destroying it as this thing was annoying, but he endured it as his loved one was living in this world. Still, Riser knew that when he fought Issei once again, it definitely wouldn't DDD. It would be, what was it? He didn't know, but he was sure that Issei would definitely be much stronger. Nevertheless, it didn't matter, as he would definitely be the one who became the winner. Still, if there was something that surprised him. By the way, did you join Rias's peerage group? You were too hasty, you know? Hearing Riser's words, Ingvild didn't get angry, but a voice from the side suddenly interrupted their conversation. What do you mean by that, Riser? Turning to the side, he saw Rias walking with Graphia and puffed her cheeks, showing an annoyed expression. Come to think of it, have I done both of them? Riser realized that he hadn't, and as there would be a big battle before them, he knew he should try something he hadn't tried. While Graphia and Rias didn't know, they knew that this guy was definitely thinking something bad. Chapter 385, To Live Without a Regret. Rias knew that Riser was thinking something bad, but it didn't matter as she wished to help him. So even if it was a little strange if he wished to, she might even try to change the color of her crimson hair for him. So, what do you mean by those words? Nevertheless, Rias wanted to know why this guy said it was something bad for Ingvild to join her peerage. I'm not saying anything bad, but it's just been a week since she woke up, and you suddenly made her into her peerage member. Early bird gets the worm. Rias sat on his lap intimately and said, Have you heard those words, dear? Riser couldn't argue since he was sure that with Ingvild's identity, there would be many who wished to make her part of peerage members. She might be a descendant of the original Leviathan, but there was no rule that she couldn't be turned into a peerage member, right? Moreover, among all the people who could make her into a peerage member, Rias wasn't the only one, as there were others too, such as Ravel, Iriuka, and Latia, who could do the same. So Riser didn't blame Rias that much, but this girl moved really fast, which made him speechless. By the way, what piece did you use to make her into part of your peerage? Pawn. 8 of them. 8 of them. Rias was decisive, and once she decided on something, she would do it. Moreover, instead of a group of small fries winning by using the numbers, she liked to have a group of elite. What pieces are left on your evil pieces, then? Nevertheless, with this, there was no chance for Issei to return to Rias' peerage anymore, especially when all the 8 pieces of pawns used by Rias were used for Ingvild. 1 knight and 1 rook. That's all. Have you found them? Not yet, but it's okay. I am not in a hurry. Rias didn't have much interest in the raiding game anymore, as she thought that it wasn't as interesting as she thought. And so what if she became a champion? In the eyes of others, the champion was a worthless position. However, a peerage member was someone that she could trust, especially to handle family matters. Even if Rias had become Riser's woman, she knew that she still needed to handle the matter of the Gremory house, and those peerage members were someone that she could trust to handle those problems. As for Grafia, Rias knew that Grafia was more than willing to go to Riser's place instead of staying in the Gremory house, which made her helpless. By the way, what about Gasper and Kiba? While Riser didn't care much about Gasper and Kiba, unlike Rias' other peerage members, those 2 guys had a chance to betray Rias due to their deep connection with Issei. Right now, they are working hard to become stronger for our next war, Rias said with a serious expression. They're too serious. You are the one who is too lax, Riser-sama. Ouch, that hurts, Grafia. Riser looked at Grafia, who casually jabbed him, which made him hold her hand and pull her into his embrace, too. On these arms were Rias and Grafia, and this was definitely amazing, as one would definitely imagine that something like this could happen. Still, Rias and Grafia didn't really mind, as they came up with a purpose to make him happy and ease the pressure. They knew that he might like to erase or escape when there weren't any important jobs, but they knew that in the place they had never seen, he was working hard, hiding all of the pain in the place they didn't know. Nevertheless, Riser took care of the matter with Gasper and Kiba well. Whether it was Gasper or Kiba, even though their power was only SOSO, there was no doubt that they were exceptional among the others. To tie them into his group and make sure that they wouldn't betray him, naturally, he had made a countermeasure. In the case of Gasper, Riser reincarnated the owner of the Sephiroth Grawl, Valerie Teeps, erased the memory of Valerie, and modified it so she would be in Riser's favor. If this was before, it might have been hard for him to do so, but he held the Sephiroth Grawl, which made him able to control the soul, and he also had Crazy Diamond and time manipulation ability he gained from devouring Gasper from the future, which made something that was impossible possible to do now. As for Kiba, Riser had found Tosca, one of the survivors of the church's Holy Sword project. Unlike Kiba, who stayed alive due to his luck being found by Rias, Tosca was alive due to awakening the sacred gear. Still, whether it was Gasper or Kiba, the 2 of them had something they had to protect, and more important than Issei. For Valerie and Tosca, they would do anything, even if they had to fight Issei. Moreover, due to his words, they thought that Issei was already controlled by creatures from another world and a parallel world. While they wanted to save Issei, they knew that with their powers, it would be impossible to defeat Issei, who had combined with beings from another world and a parallel world. Even Riser might even lose against this Issei. Moreover, even though there might be a chance Issei might not be controlled, the fact that Issei had become the enemy of the Alliance in this world, as he had sided with the creatures from another world and the parallel world, didn't change. So, to protect those they loved, they had to fight Issei. It was also due to this that Riser wanted to see how Issei would react when his dearest friends would try to KL him. Yet, at the same time, Riser could imagine how callous and cold Issei would become when the war started. By the way, is it alright for Sona to open the school? While I know this is her dream, isn't it better to postpone this matter until everything is clear up? The war with the parallel world and another world was about to begin, but unexpectedly, Riser agreed for Sona to open the raiding game school for the low-class devil and reincarnated devil, which she had dreamed of. It's okay. I think that she should do it now instead of later. Why? 2x. Grafia and Rias were confused. It's because we don't know what will happen in the future, so while we might have a chance to do it, let's do it so we won't have any regrets. Those who heard his words all fell into silence. In this war, no one could tell what would happen. Anything could happen. Even he, who was mighty and immortal, could even die. Riser still recalled his memory of when he fought the Great Red before, and he didn't want to have any regrets, so he picked up Grafia and Rias, ready to erase his regrets. While Rias and Grafia were stunned, they didn't really mind. But then, Ingvild, do you want to join us? Rias suddenly asked. Okay. Ingvild nodded as she lowered her head shyly. Riser,